Greetings, Guzzling. I'm going to make some Greek Pitta bread. Okay, because I'm going to make some souvlaki later, and so I'll need some Pitta bread to go with it. So, we're going to get started straight away. Got a bowl. Unfortunately, my smaller glass bowls are all in use, so I'm making do with this one. It's probably too big. And into here, I'm putting 80 mils of sort of warm-ish water, and I'm putting 160 mils of room temperature milk, and then I've got a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of sugar, 2 teaspoons, which is actually about a packet of dried yeast, and we're just going to mix that together, and we're going to set that aside for about 5 minutes to get that yeast activated. What I'm going to do, I've got some sprigs of thyme here, and I'm just going to pull the leaves off. To be honest, they want chopping up, but I think so long as I don't get any real stalky bits in there, probably won't need to bother chopping them. I'll probably just shove them in as they are. So we want about a teaspoon's worth of thyme. Okay. So I'm just going to go through stripping those. Put the stalk in there. Strip that in there, and then you're going to want some strong plain bread flour. How much of that have I got? 320 grams of that. A teaspoon of salt, and that's it. Now, these are pita breads. These are cooked in like a frying pan, if you like. Okay, they don't go in the oven. And this I think makes six smallish pita breads. Into my bowl of flour, I'm just going to add that chopped up. I did chop it up a little bit in the end actually, because I thought you don't really want bits in there, do you? So in that goes. In goes my teaspoon of salt. That's genuine sea salt. Sal de mer. French. It is actually French sea salt. Right. Apparently unwashed, unfiltered, whatever. And then I'm going to take that mixture, that yeast mixture, in that goes, and we're just going to mix this together, and then once it's all incorporated, I'm going to move this board out of the way, and we're going to knead it for a little bit. Now if you want to make lots of washing up, you now want to get yourself another bowl that you're going to oil to put this in to rise or to prove afterwards. We ain't going to do that, we're going to use the same bowl. So at the minute, all I'm trying to do is make sure I get all those ingredients well combined, and then once I've made a bloody mess, I'm going to tip it out onto a floured surface, and we're going to knead it for about 5 minutes. Finally got that all out. Tell you what, you really need to invest in is a nice dough scraper, something that's flexible enough, it gets in all the nooks and crannies in the bowl, also give your hand a scrape off. And like I say, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to knead this for about 5 minutes. Okay, we're not, we're not looking, and that's also where the dough scraper comes in handy when it does that. We're not looking for this, obviously to rise like a normal bread. And in fact, you might even argue, it's a bit sticky this dough, you might even argue that, do you really want the yeast in it? Well, we want a little bit of puffiness to it. We want these as flat breads. Okay, so we're not interested in it, but we would like a little bit of air in it. So I'm just going to get a bit more flour, and like I say, I'm kneading this 5 minutes. So that's me kneading over and done with, and like I said, if you want to get a lot of washing up, get another bowl and just oil it we're using the same one. Let it a bit of a scrape out, and then take your dough, plonk it in there, and then we're going to set it aside for 45 minutes, covered over with the cloth or cling film or whatever you want. And that's it for a minute. So it's time to get on with this pita bread. So you can see there it's risen up a bit, and this is where it's going to get mashed down. What we're going to do is we're just going to oil, so rather than flour, we're going to oil our surface. Okay. Probably going to need some more oil. I'm just going to tip that, look at that, even though I oiled that. And all I'm going to just do is just gently knock this back a little bit. And then I'm going to divide it into 6. Notice I'm using one hand, so I've got one hand clean to do stuff. So I think that's got the air out. So I'm now just going to divide that up into 6 balls. So I'm just going to oil my pan. Okay, and then I've spread a little bit more oil on there. And what we're going to do now is, before bloody door's pissing me about, before I do anything else, I'm going to get this onto a medium heat and get my pan nice and hot. A bit more oil down, and now probably put too much on this time, it probably won't want to roll. And we're just going to roll these out until they're about 8 inches. Now weirdly, I'm sure the way I cut them, yeah, now gone over the boards with the oil. The way I did these, I've somehow ended up with 7. That's all right, I've got one for tasting. So we're just rolling these out. Not doing too well with this one. I need to mop up some of this oil, I think. And then all we're going to do is we're going to take that and slap that into that pan. And while that one's cooking, we can then get our next one rolled and ready. And we're going to cook it for a few minutes on that side until it's just starting to bubble. It should bubble up. I've said that before, haven't I? It should bubble up, and equally it should start browning on the bottom. Get a nice brown bottom. And then we'll flip it over and brown the other side. So, probably my pan wasn't quite well enough. I'm starting to get some little bubbles pop up, which is a good sign. This is what we're expecting. So, like I say, a couple of minutes on that side, we'll have a little look, flip it over, and then we'll just put it to one side while we then just cook the others off. Right, so let's flip it over. You can see there starting to brown on that side, getting a little bit of a nice crisp crust on it. So it's going to cook that side, shove it on a plate, and then basically work our way through the others. So we should end up with 7. Well, yeah, meant to be 6. I'm still cooking off the others, but this was like the 7th, if you like, the small batch. Still very hot actually. Ooh. Let's try a bit. Ooh. I'm just taking this out of the pan. Bless you. I don't know if you can see that one. That one's bubbling up nicely. I think that first one, I didn't have the pan hot enough. Definitely want to get the pan hot. But tasty. It's got a bit of a tang to it. I'm trying to think. Ooh. I'm trying to think what that tang reminds me. It's almost a little bit of a sour-ish tang. No reason why it should be, given what's in it. Unless it's the herbs in it, but it's nice. Especially so now it's warm. So, here you go. Your Greek pita bread.